I love that music. Let's make sure
literally was thinking the same thing.
Don't you? I mean, wait a minute. I'm trying to fix it. So who was I? I was on with someone, and they told me it was like Donnie Simpson. I don't know if George, if you are old enough to remember Donnie Simpson back. Garrison, you are definitely not old enough to remember Donnie Simpson.
No idea.
This was in the early days of like BET and that sort of thing. And who was it that said he was like the poor man's Billy D. Williams? But I don't know. I don't know that. Yeah.
No harsh words about Lando here. No, I love me some Lando. And what was his name on Mahogany? Or on Mahogany.
Mahogany. Oh, I don't remember what his name was. What was his name? Do you remember, Garrison? You don't even know.
No, I don't. I have no idea. I feel awful.
I'm a winner, baby. You a loser. I'm a winner. You a loser.
Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things
in life?
Okay. Oh wait, we're gonna get demonetized. We can't do that.
It sounds just like it.
Thank you.
That was man. I love Diana Ross, but that movie was great. She was fabulous in that movie, right? Okay, we've gotten really way ahead. By the way, I don't know if he's MAGA, but Billy D. Williams became, I think, a conservative. We'll have to look that up. Google that as we're talking. Producers, look it up. I think he had some things. I don't know if it's MAGA. I don't want to be wrong. But anyways, hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, as we call it, Lemon Live at 5. We have a rowdy group here. I am very orange and very tan and very sweaty because I don't know if you guys saw, we're taking the show on the road. The Don Lemon Show is going to the DNC. George Hahn is not going. He's very jealous. Garrison Hayes is going. He's not very jealous. Maybe hook up. Let's do a collab, okay, Garrison?
I love that. Let's do it.
All right. So let me introduce you and tell everybody what's going on. So the question is we're at Lemon Live. If you're in the chat, Lemon Heads, let's talk. George, is that vodka? Oh, you don't drink.
Have you met me?
Drink. That's right.
This is San Pellegrino. This is my indulgence.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Was it dental work? Was it alcohol or a stroke? Now, I'm not saying that, but that's what people have been asking today about Donald Trump's, what they're calling an utterly disastrous performance last night during a live interview on Twitter. Former president slurred and lisped his way through a bizarre tangent after bizarre tangent, leaving even the most diehard supporters confused and depressed. That's what I'm reading. I'm going to find out if the panel believes the same thing. Meanwhile, Trump's VP pick cannot catch a break after weeks of being hounded by couch jokes and childless cat lady missteps. JD Vance is facing fresh calls for Republicans to drop him from the GOP ticket after alleged photos of him in drag surfaced online. Did you guys see those?
Yeah.
You saw them?
Yeah.
Somebody today someone was calling Goldilocks, and I was like, that's appropriate. Had you heard that one?
I sent some fun things to your producer. There's this handle. We'll talk about it later if you want. Republic.
Okay, so they want to drop him on the tickets. So we have to dig into this. Unfortunately, I have a wonderful group of people to help me here. There you see him on the screen. Finally, Garrison Hayes. He is a video correspondent for Mother Jones, specializing in race, history, and politics. Also, George Hahn is with me, a writer, a humorist, a style consultant, and a dear friend of mine. How are you both doing? Welcome to the show. What's going on? What's on your minds?
Thanks for having me. I feel good. I listened to Trump on X with Elon Musk, and I am not a better person on the other side of it. But I am great. It's great to be here right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get through it. I can't bear to listen to really either of them. But I'm good, actually, to answer your question, John. I feel great. I feel sexy. I feel fresh.
All of the things.
All of the things. I'm really, yeah. So
good.
Thanks for asking.
So listen, I kind of buried the lead when it comes to Garrison, because Garrison, as I understand, everyone, you want to hear this. You said you spent a week with Black MAGA.
I did. I spent a week at the RNC with Black MAGA. I've been covering them for the last year, trying to figure out what's the motivation. Like, how do Black people find themselves supporting Donald Trump and this Republican Party in particular? And so I spent a week with them. We just released a video on our Mother Jones YouTube of the entire experience with interviews, talking to these people on the ground. And I learned a lot.
Do you have some clips that you can? I mean, where can you direct our producers to go to get some clips? Is it on the YouTube page or social? Is it on Mother Jones social?
It's on Mother Jones social.
Is it on Twitter?
YouTube. It's on Twitter or X. It's on the platform. So you can find clips on all platforms and the full videos on YouTube.
Okay, great, guys. So scour their social media for some clips, and I would really appreciate it to get them up, because when I saw that you spent a week with Black Maga, I was like, we got to get him on. All right, George. This is supposed to be the George Hahn show, but today it's going to be George and Garrison, and I'm sure you love it. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. Trump's Twitter interview, J.D. Vance, his drag photos and the calls for him to leave the ticket. I think that could happen. We'll discuss. Garrison's reporting on Black Maga. So we're going to hear from Trump. We're going to hear in the list. We're going to see the Trump on the Harris Time cover. Talk about that. Well, he has a soundbite about that, where it's a bizarre thing saying it looks like his wife. And then we're going to, Kamala HQ is killing it.
Yes.
And they made a statement about the interview. And you'll see Vance in drag. You're going to see Cawthorn. Remember him, Madison Cawthorn. You'll see Rudy Giuliani. You'll see George Santos, all in drag. It seems Republicans, lawmakers at least, have an affinity for drag. And then we'll talk about Garrison's reporting on Black Maga. Okay, so last night, Donald Trump sat down for a friendly 2-hour interview with Elon Musk on Twitter after there were technical problems that delayed the start of the event for more than 40 minutes. More than 40 minutes. I don't know what's going on. Elon Musk said that it was some sort of services direct. What do you call it? I forget. I don't know. That it was an attack.
DDoS.
Yeah.
All you need to know, John, he's a victim. Go ahead.
Okay, but he said it was an attack, so we'll see. Experts are saying that they have no evidence of that, but anyway, that's what he said. Musk, who has endorsed Trump, blamed the difficulties on that's what's called a distributed denial of services attack, or a service attack in which a server or network is flooded with traffic in an attempt to shut it down, though his claim could not be verified again. So the technical issues were called a similar event on Twitter. This was back in May of 2023 when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suffered a chaotic start to his bid for the Republican presidential nomination due to glitches on the platform. At the time, Trump mocked DeSantis on his own social media platform, Truth Social. My red button is bigger, better, stronger, and is working. Truth, he said, Trump posted. Yours does not. So notably, the former president sounded at several points as if he had a lisp or was slurring his words, something many listeners noticed. Trump campaign did not respond to a request for comment about Trump's speech. I did see a comment, though, and said, by someone with the Trump folks, who said that you must have been listening to the wrong interview or something like that. So you both get to listen to the interviews. What did you make of the conversation? First, you, Mr. Hahn.
I'm going to be
you didn't listen.
Correct. However, I've heard snippets throughout the day. I haven't heard the whole thing. I know he doesn't drink. He's never been a drinker. He allegedly there are ideas that he enjoys the Adderall. I don't know. I can't verify that, but I've heard that many times over the years. And my guess, Don, is that he's just kind of it's breaking down. Like, this is a guy. He can't really operate on the level that he used to operate anymore. And maybe there was some medical assistance that contributed to that performance, but this is a guy who cannot operate on the level, like compared to Biden, he could come across as maybe a little more vigorous than he really is. So I think my hunch is that that's kind of what's going on there.
Why don't we just say what it really is? I mean, he's scared. That's what they're not scared. He's scared. Don't you think he's shook? Don't you think
totally
he's a little rattled? Yeah.
What's his name? Miller, who had that delicious panic attack on Fox News the day after Biden dropped out. We've spent all this money we spent all this money on against, thinking that we were campaigning against Joe Biden. Like, he literally
Stephen Miller
squeaked his way through an interview like he was a balloon that sprung a leak and his testicles hadn't dropped yet. Yeah, I said it.
Is it weird?
He's all shades of weird. He
Yeah.
delivers all shades of it. But anyway, Trump is, I think, terrified. I think the big fear for him is what it's going to look like on a stage when you've got him who is approaching 80, and then you got Kamala, 20 years his junior almost, and she is, you know, vibrant and competent and funny and fun and has her act together and articulate. And then look at the contrast is going to be so stark. He's terrified of that, I would imagine.
Garrison, I mean, George didn't watch, and he had virtually nothing to say about it. And you did watch. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought a few things. I mean, I think George hit the nail on the head that Trump, what we're getting from Trump is what happens when you have a clear comparison. I mean, you know, to George's point, President Biden, for all the good he's done and all that he deserves, you know, he was aging and it was becoming more obvious. And when you have the comparison between Biden and Trump, you know, of course, Biden gets a little bit more attention. But when the comparison is between Trump and Vice President Kamala, it is stark. And the slurring, maybe the dental work, whatever it is, we're reporting on that because we don't have his opponent to criticize in the exact same way. I listened to the interview, about an hour of the interview, to be fair. And I thought that Elon Musk was longing for Trump's approval and his accolade. And I thought for Trump, it was so all over the place. You know, Trump has a couple of talking points and he keeps coming back to them like time and time again. It's the border and it's crime, even though crime is way down, even though his Republicans blocked border legislation. He just keeps kind of coming back to those things over and over and over again. And it was a lot like talking to your grandpa. When you try to talk about something, they just keep going back to the thing that they're comfortable with time and time again. That was much of the interview for me. But the last thing I'll say is, like, when I was at the RNC, I talked to Republicans about Trump, and they were so excited for Donald Trump to give a speech that would unify in the days immediately after his assassination attempt. And he got up there and he didn't do that at all. And I imagine if you are a Trump supporter listening to Trump give that interview last night, you probably have the sinking feeling that he can never rise to the moment of unification. Like, he can never be the voice that brings the country together because it's so hateful and so divisive.
It's like expecting him to be that guy is similar to expecting Elon to be the guy other than the guy he's been showing us for the past few years. What we're seeing here is like we've taken the face off the clock and they're showing us the gears. So when people say, you know, Elon needs to, you know, stop the sentence right there. Trump needs to, or what he should do, stop the sentence right there, because what's on the other side of that sentence is never going to happen.
This whole idea you guys are talking about negativity, I think people want positivity. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I think people are sick of the you know, what did you call it? The red, what, George, before we started the
It was
show?
like the dark side of the force. It's very red over there. It's very, like, I keep thinking of, reminds me of the Emperor on the dark side of the force, this creepy dude in the hood. Like, oh, like that's what it feels like over there. It's just dark, stale. You know, what we have a choice of is old and new. Americans love new shit. I have an iPhone 14 Pro. I love it. I can't wait till the 16 comes out. Why? Because it's new.
Like, I have a 15, by the way.
Wow.
Only because the 14 broke, and I had to get it 2 months before the 16 came out. So I got to do a trade-in. But let's get back to the interview, because I really do want to hear. I want people to hear just how significant this lisp was last night. And I didn't really listen to it. I turned it on I heard that they were having these technical issues, and I just wanted to see for myself. And then by the time I turned it on, they had just gotten started, and I think I listened to maybe not even 30 seconds, but I did notice the lisp. So for the viewers and subscribers who are listening, watching, pay close attention. Here it is.
She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different. Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically.
Okay. All right. So look, the question that I asked at the top of the show, like, what was it? Do you think it was dental work or canker sore? I mean, I doubt it's a stroke or anything. He doesn't drink, but it's really bizarre. But you know what it sounded like? I'm not kidding. And I'm not trying to give shade. It sounded like when my grandmother, or when my dad in later years would take their dentures out. And they speak with this thing because they took their dentures out. Now, I don't know how much of it was on camera or any of it, or if it was just photograph or whatever, but that's what it sounded like to me.
Okay, Don, can I tell you what I really think? Like, can I just tell you what I really think happened? Wow. There's a picture of Trump leaning over the phone, like talking into the phone for this interview. And I really think gravity was at work. I think his dentures were less secure than they normally are and kind of coming forward. That's what I really think. I have no proof, but that's what I think.
I don't disagree with you. I'm telling you, it sounds like if you have a mouthful of teeth and all of a sudden they're gone, you kind of sound like that.
Well, he sounded like Lucille Ball when she was doing an episode of Password with Bert Convy. Am I wrong? He sounded like Lucille Ball because she'd be, when you're doing shows like Password and you're doing shows like, I don't know, Match Game, you have a few cocktails when you do this show. Yeah, he sounded like Carol Channing.
That's it.
Hi, everyone. It's Carol Channing.
Welcome
to my cabaret show.
You're fired.
Good evening. Hi, George. Welcome. I'm so glad everyone's here.
Yeah. He sounded like Carol Channing. Oh.
Hilarious. Okay. Another bizarre moment. This is a cover of Time magazine. And then he compared Kamala Harris, Vice President. I like to call her Vice President Kamala. Is that disrespectful? No,
that's her title.
I like to call her Vice President Kamala. He compared her to his wife, Melania Trump, and said, oh, they're beautiful. She looked like the most beautiful woman. Now, I don't know if he was trying to say that she looked like a white woman. I don't know what he was insinuating, but here it is. Watch.
And actually, she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Camilla.
There's so much to unpack.
So much.
Go ahead, Garrison.
I mean, getting the name wrong, that's crazy. That's crazy work. Comparing the vice president to your wife and then at the end calling her very beautiful. Weird. I mean, not to get on the weird train, but that is so weird. It was a really weird thing to say.
It's the only way. I think it's the only way he knows how to pay a woman a compliment is I mean, he's a pageant owner. That's the language he speaks. That's the culture he comes from. He thinks he's like the East Coast Hugh Hefner, he thinks he's got game. And this is a guy who has never gotten laid without paying for it, in some way. So, yeah,
I know a lot of married men who would say the same thing, but listen.
But it's not, he doesn't know how to say she's competent, she's smart, she's whatever. That's not his skill set. It's not in it.
Okay, so listen, this is what's up in our poll. Okay, we have a poll up on this. This is why I love doing the show. I love being an independent media, George Hahn, don't you?
You and me both. I love a poll.
What do you think was behind Trump's lisping and slurring? Dental work, Adderall, alcohol, old age, a health episode. So, wow, the odds-on favorite is old age, a health episode. That's 44%. Dental work is 36%. And then 18% Adderall and 6% said alcohol, but he doesn't drink. He says that he is a teetotaler, does not drink. So I'm not sure which one it was. I actually think it was dental work. I don't think he was having a health episode. So there you go. But that comment was weird. What do you think he meant by that? By comparing her to him, her to his wife? Do you, Garrison? Can you take a gander of what you think was behind that?
I just don't know. I saw the cover and it's a lovely illustration of the vice president, but I don't know what it means to compare her to Melania Trump, and I don't know why he would do that. You know, I've long had the thought, and I've never said this publicly, but I've had the thought that Donald Trump may like have some kind of lingering kind of thing for Kamala, and like I could be totally wrong.
You just read my mind.
But it's been the way he interacts with her, the way he talks about her. There's something familiar about that, and I'll kind of leave it at that. And so this may have been more Freudian than anything. Is that like he could see, you know, I don't want to go too far, but he could see himself with her in some way. It's really strange, and I don't think it should stand as a model for anyone. Like fellas, if you're watching, don't do that. Don't do that.
This Kamala, and also there are other examples, but one I'm thinking of now is AOC. There is a league of women that represents to men like Trump. They represent that woman, that girl in high school, the pretty girl in high school who wasn't impressed with them. You know what I mean? Like it is dumbfounding to guys like that. Like, wait, you're not impressed with me? Look at this. Look at everything I've got. Like, how could you not be into me? And I think, did we lose Don there? We might have.
We may have.
I'll just keep talking.
This is a George.
So yes, thank you, Don, for giving me your show. I am Eve Harrington to your Margot Channing. But to me, I just like she's the girl in high school or whatever school from his teenage years or formative years who turned him down, who wasn't impressed with them. I think AOC, as I said, represents that to a lot of these guys who just cannot wrap their head around the notion that a woman is not impressed with them.
Yeah, I think
it breaks his brain.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is this obsession with these kind of more traditionally beautiful or attractive women and the right. There's always this kind of additional.
Nancy Pelosi is another one. She's
exactly. They kind of have this kind of just additional energy for those people in ways that is almost feels a bit inexplicable. But you've explained it well.
Yeah, it's strange. And, you know, goes back to my friend Scott Galloway talks about this stuff all the time, and masculinity and how to relate to, you know, we've got this crisis with men, for example, this one who shot Trump or attempted to. And these guys just don't know how to get game in a weird way. And Trump never figured out how to get game in any, I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around it because he's not anyone I would ever spend any time with, like ever. Like if I'm ever in a room with him, it's an accident, like not by my design. Ugh.
Yeah. And I think about all the people who see political figures as like role models and especially on the religious right, there's this feeling that Donald Trump represents a Jesus-like figure in American politics. Oh, there's Don. There he is.
I don't know what happened. Maybe someone got mad at us that we were talking about.
Maybe it was a DDoS attack.
Yes, that's exactly right. Don, you're a victim. You're a victim.
You're a victim.
I am Eve Harrington and you're Margot Channing, and I'm taking over your show.
Eve, the golden girl, the cover girl,
the golden girl, the girl next door,
girl on the moon. Time has been good to Eve. Life goes where she goes.
But more about Eve later.
Oh my gosh, that is my favorite. That's my favorite movie of all time. It's the best written movie of all time. We can't go there. Okay, what were you guys talking about? Because I just got knocked off for a second.
We were talking about how I expanded, I guess, on how guys like Trump. They just cannot wrap their brain around the idea that a woman like she was the girl that wasn't impressed with him in high school or whatever school and turned him down. And it's just like, wait, you're not in, how could you not be into me? That kind of idea. AOC's one, Nancy Pelosi's another one. These competent, accomplished, authoritative. They don't shrink themselves or make themselves smaller to make a man comfortable in the room. That puts these guys off. And she doesn't shrink herself. I mean, the VP shrinks themselves. That's the job. But
and so it's making sense, George. And so what they do is they objectify them and they make them small and they make them only as good as their beauty or their physical attractiveness.
All of
as a way to control them. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, but either way, she's a very beautiful woman, right?
Yeah.
So listen, this is what, considering what you guys said and what happened, this is what how the Kamala HQ responded last night. Okay, and let's put it up. And it says, quote, Donald Trump's extremism and dangerous Project 2025 agenda is a feature, not a glitch of his campaign, which was on full display for those unlucky enough to listen in tonight during whatever that was on X.com. Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year of 2024. I mean,
she read him from cover to cover and he'll never recover.
I mean, that is Kamala, whoever's running Kamala HQ, someone said today needs to get a raise.
Give him a raise.
That is delicious messaging. No notes, 10 out of 10. And
no
also none. And they go low, we kick them in the nuts. Like let's play that.
Do you think, Garrison, I mean, this was a scathing response. Do you think that Democrats are doing better now? Listen, we all love Michelle Obama, right? Who doesn't? But, she said, when they go low, we go high. I think, is this the new high road, is by meeting them where they are?
It definitely
working.
It definitely seems like it's working. That's what I was going to say. It looks like it's working. People are really excited to engage with and republish these messages. And I think it is an important counterbalance to a lot of what is represented on the right with Donald Trump. I think about my reporting with Black Republicans, and a lot of these men are drawn to the bravado and kind of the, purported masculinity of a figure like Donald Trump. But when you have that counter response and it reveals how weird and strange and frankly out of touch those kinds of actions are, I think it kind of short circuits some of those pathways that think, oh, this is great, this is cool, this is what men do. When you have the voice of maybe a Kamala HQ or a Tim Walz come in and say, no, this is not good, I think that's a positive thing, and can help to hopefully rewrite some of these narratives.
Do you think that, on this, when they go low, we meet them where they are, or maybe even we go lower? George, does it bother you? Does the couch thing bother you from Democrats, the jokes?
At the end of the day, no. Here's the why. On the right, they are ruthless. And the left needs to be willing to and ready to be just as ruthless. Because we have learned that does not necessarily resonate or work. But what we're seeing now is that it is working. The Tim Walz weird thing was just genius. Like that, because these guys are weird and it broke their brain. They've been called weird their entire lives. They know they're weird. And to have someone punch back like that, and as they try to watching them fall over their feet to try to defend it or like fight, hit back on the weird moniker is so good. I love it so much. And also,
go on. Sorry.
I don't know what I said. I can't remember.
You said that watching them, because they've been called weird for so long.
Yeah.
You think it's great, but you don't remember the other thing. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm thinking of like your Ben Shapiro's and your, any of these, any of them, they're weird. And how do you fight back on that? They are weird. Trump is weird. JD Vance is a freak. Really bizarre.
Here's what I think.
I have no problem with like the couch thing, really, because they would have and have done much worse.
So I think that Tim Walz is a teacher, right? He's a coach, he's a guidance counselor, and he realizes that he's used to seeing this sort of juvenile behavior right? This sort of, adolescent behavior all the time. And so he recognizes it in these adults and he knows where it came from. So I think instinctively, he just said, listen, this is just weird. It's weird that you are a grown man or grown person, an adult, and you're acting like someone who is in elementary or junior high school who is being ignored by, as you said, Garrison, by the prom queen or the cheerleader. And you're like, oh, well, she's a beautiful woman or whatever. And so you have to sort of minimize her to make yourself feel better. Or you have to demonize other people to make you feel better. You have to, pick on trans people and members of the LGBTQ community and, and question whether someone is Black or not because you are weird and basically a nerd and people don't want to sit next to you in the cafeteria.
Also, Don, it comes from a place of fear, insecurity, and weakness. A man in particular who is strong and secure does not act like that.
Right.
Tim Walz does not act like that. Tim Walz, who is manifesting like this America's Daddy energy that I am all here. I will camp out all night for that show. Like, I'm so into it. And we're seeing like people are like American audiences are now being exposed to this option of how to be a man that may have never occurred to them. And it's resonating and it's fantastic. But real men do what they do and go after those things and go after certain weaker groups because they're weak. Strong men do not do that because they know it's not necessary.
I think maybe the real thing with Kamala HQ is that they're stunting the distraction trap that Donald Trump has been really great at setting for the last decade. He's just been a master at distracting us a bit from maybe the inflationary policies he's pushing forward for his, or the fact that there's so much energy now on the left. And so I think what they're doing is minimizing, almost lampooning the distractions for what they are. Maybe distractions, maybe just kind of a ridiculous thing to question Kamala's, Vice President Harris's racial identity, for example, right? Saying that's just crazy. We're not even going to engage. And they've done a really good job at kind of redirecting the conversation toward what I believe to be more substantive, more reality-based things.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about the pivot for the top of the GOP's ticket, from the top of the GOP's ticket to the bottom of the GOP's ticket, because somehow JD Vance is in even more hot water than Trump now. First, let me remind the audience of what happened. This was in the last 48 hours. Okay, JD Vance is being called out for hypocrisy after an image emerged on Twitter of someone who appears to be Vance dressed as a woman. Picture, please, and then we'll talk about it. The picture was allegedly taken at a party in 2012 by one of Vance's Yale classmates. The image, I should say, was shared within a group chat before being sent to activist Matt Bernstein by Travis Whitfield, a Yale alum. Whitfield confirmed his role in surfacing the image, writing on Twitter, quote, "I was the source of the photo sent through friends to you. This was taken in 2012, the same time I was at Yale. Photo was taken by a classmate and sent to me. Thanks for sharing." Now, folks, I have to tell you that, be very clear of the story of JD Vance, who wants to drag. There's nothing wrong with drag or rejecting the idea of gender clothing, right? Story is a hypocrisy here, or at least it was. So I think it's, I think it's fair game to have this discussion. That was until far-right Republicans started calling on Vance to drop out, right? So Nick Fuentes and his Groper followers have been circulating memes all day smearing Vance and calling on him to step aside. What do you guys think about this? By the way, there are rumors out there too about Nick Fuentes as well. And maybe you've heard about him, maybe you haven't. But our panel discussed yesterday. That's it. What we discussed. Look at the show yesterday. I'll just say, yeah.
Okay. Garrison, you start that one.
What do you guys think?
I'll start. If it weren't so hypocritical, it's kind of humanizing. I think that as you said, Don, there's nothing wrong with with what JD Vance did. It just is really unfortunate that the political evolution of the Republican Party has led, or at least for JD Vance, I should say specifically, has led to the demonization of this very thing. I think my main thought here is that it's unfortunate that in 10 or 15 years, JD Vance's children will look back on this time and will have to contest or contend with the fact that their father navigated this political moment in this way. I really am sad about that and sad to see that. And I'm hopeful that there will be a time where hopefully like we can reverse all of that, right? Like people should be able to express themselves how they want. And that's my main thought, Don.
Yeah. By the way, someone in the chat said, "Don, are you sleeping?" I said, "No, I'm wearing my old prescription and I can't read my notes very well. That's how bad my eyes are getting." I don't know if you guys have ever been there before, but that's where I am. What do you think of this, George?
I would echo a lot of what Garrison said. And I love drag. Like, I think drag is a blast, right? What a celebration of life. And I will never be able to say it any better than RuPaul, who said, you know, we're born naked, the rest is drag. What I'm wearing right now is drag. It's a shapeshift. It's costume. It's fun.
Hey, George, real quick. Well, let's remember, hold that thought. You said, but it's a, I mean, we have to remember, like, everything is drag. Remember when men wore dresses, right?
And wigs.
And wigs and heels and these corset kind of things and these boots that tied up with heels and whatever, it just, and curls and the white powder makeup. I mean, I'm just saying, we invented all of this. All of this was invented by someone. So let's not get too caught up into what is a man and what does a woman dress like and that sort of thing. Sorry, go on.
Also, in Elizabethan times, in Shakespeare's day, men played women on stage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Harvard, right? Didn't they do that for a while? Because
I think so. That sounds about right.
No women. Yeah.
So, hasty pudding. Did you say tasty pudding?
Hasty pudding. Hasty pudding.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I mean, think about all of the money that is flooding into this party that he is now atop the ticket of, along with Donald Trump, to push anti-trans, anti-drag thing. I live in Tennessee, where there are laws on the books criminalizing this very thing. I mean, at the very least, it's socially criminal for many people in this state. And it's unfortunate. Like, it really is unfortunate that so much energy has gone into this. I talked to a person at the RNC, and I'll say this: Mother Jones has some phenomenal coverage and reporting on all that money that's pouring into this party around anti-trans and anti-drag legislation and rules and such. But I'll say this: I was on the floor of the RNC when someone, while JD Vance was on stage talking, someone let me have an earful about how much he hates JD Vance, that he got to be anti-Trump. He got to be a never Trumper for all of this time, and now he gets to be the VP. This was a delegate at the RNC from Texas who was upset about this political evolution and the ways in which JD Vance has kind of shape-shifted to fit Trumpism. And I think about that in this moment, that JD Vance got to be never Trump, called Trump potentially America's Hitler, say that he was like an opioid, which is especially crazy coming from someone from Appalachia, and then also participate in drag, and now gets to be one of the leaders of a party that is actively working to destroy the lives of people who participate in drag. It really is remarkable to me.
And to a lot of people. Let's see. Do you guys think he's going to stay at the bottom of the ticket, or you think it's going to be dropped?
I don't know. What do you think, Garrison?
I don't know, George.
I know Trump. I'm sure Trump would love to dump him.
What are the? I guess my first question would be about ballot access and like could they change the ticket? Would they be able to change the vice president? I haven't looked into that, so I don't know if it's even possible.
I think if he's going to do it, he's going to have to do it soon. He's going to have to do it at least before the ballots go out. I mean, it was the same thing that they challenged the President Biden about and Vice President Harris about, saying, "Oh, we're going to sue you because you know some of the ballots have been out there or something, or on the raw." I forget what they were saying, but so they're using that same, and by the same logic, he would not be able to replace JD Vance. I actually think he's going to find a way, and not necessarily that he's going to say he's got to get off the ticket. Well, he will. I think he's going to say, JD Vance will eventually say, listen, it's not working and I'm going to bow out. No one asked me to do this. I don't want to stop the greatest president, right, from, becoming president again. So I'm going to bow out. I think that's what's going to happen, but we'll see.
Right.
But my friend says, I have a friend who's very connected and says he hates to admit any kind of that he's wrong, that he has any faults. So JD Vance is there to stay. I don't know.
Yeah, all bets are off here. Like, I don't.
I hear you. Trang Pack 2 says, "Don't give them any ideas, Don." LOL. I know. I see it. I see it. Look at Nikki, my Indian over here. Rocks 1 SMF says, "I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you." That's what's going to happen.
Here's the thing about another. Garrison and I were talking about it before we went live. Another running mate that would help him. Trump wants to win on his own steam. The idea that like Nikki Haley would have been more threatening. Like that would have been a better pick if he really wanted to win and like
the idea that he needs a woman to help him, right? Anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is so not okay with him. He wants to be the one. Like he wants to be Neo in the Matrix, man. Like, and he's so not. He's so not.
All right, let's move on because I can't wait to talk about this. I want to change gears now and talk about something that fascinates me, and that is Black Maga. We are past the days of Diamond and Silk. Remember them? Katrina Pearson.
Rhinestone and Rayon.
One of them is passed. One of them is passed. One of them is passed. So, Garrison, you put together a really spectacular video while attending the RNC a couple of weeks ago. And if you don't mind, I want to play a clip and then we'll chat about your reporting. Here it is.
Conservatives are everywhere.
That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump.
Pollsters can't get enough of them.
The historic levels of support the Republicans are getting from black folk under Trump.
Donald Trump is cozying up to them.
Come here, let me give you a hug.
And the RNC was full of them.
President Trump, we have the greatest economy in our lifetime.
America is not a racist country.
Can you imagine President Donald Trump coming to a city and calling a pastor like me?
You've probably heard a lot of people talking about black Republicans, but I spent all of the RNC talking to black Republicans.
So it is with being a black conservative. I equate it to being gay back in the 50s or 60s. You didn't come out the closet then.
And so you look at the people who really saying that about Trump. It's not no uppity Negroes. It's Negroes out the real hood.
And that's one reason why I'm pro-Trump and I'm a conservative, is because I truly believe in the individualistic approach to the problems that we see within the black community or in America as a whole.
Black Republicans specifically are some of the most disliked and unpopular political figures within the black community for a reason.
I'm pissed.
Of the 4 black Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives, zero represent majority black districts.
I am royally pissed.
In fact, they all represent majority white districts, something they seem to be very proud of.
South Carolina is majority white, correct?
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
My district is majority white district. Your Utah is majority white district, correct? Michigan, Florida, is your district majority white district? Well, how do we get here?
Like, a lot of white people had to vote for it.
There is an obvious disconnect, and that's what I want to explore today.
Is that an SNL skit? I mean,
wow, Garrison, you're so good at this.
Garrison, no, that was really, really, really good. The thing that looked like an SNL skit to me was like when they were all sitting around on the sort of U-shaped table.
How did we get here?
I was like, wait a minute. And were they all wearing Trump red ties and blue?
Potentially. Yeah.
Okay. So look, let me say this. As someone who was a conservative at one point, very young, I grew up, this was in college. It's okay for black people to be conservative. I don't understand the MAGA shit, though. I really don't get it, because there's nothing in MAGA that is for black people. Do what you want. For Tim Scott to get on stage and said America is not a racist country, he is out of his rabbit ass mind if he actually believes that. And I don't think that he really believes that. I believe when people do shit like that, it is the shortest line to the front. If they were regular old, just normal conservatives, if they were just normal sort of centrist, either conservative or Democrats, then you have to fight against everybody else. If you become MAGA and people know what Donald Trump stands for and they know what MAGA stands for and they go, oh, well, I can do this and then I'll sell a lot of books. I can do this and then it's the easiest way to get to an office. I'll get votes. Then I will become the Black person that white people can relate to, or a lot of the Black people who are contributors and correspondents and analysts on television that white people point to for their perspective and say, oh, look, Bob said this and he's Black. And that guy has no credibility and within the Black community. He's no purchase in the Black community, but he's just there because he's a Black face or she's a Black face, and white people think that they represent Black America and they don't. Sorry, Garrison, you did great reporting. Go on.
No, thank you. I think a lot of what you said is actually the motivation behind this piece for me with Mother Jones. I really wanted to explore this question about whether or not these folks are grifters. Clay Kane wrote a phenomenal book that has history and some commentary about Black Republicans, and he essentially poses the thesis of that book is essentially that modern Black Republicans, Black conservatives are in some ways using grifter-like tactics to get to the top. And I wanted to explore that. And I wanted to take these folks seriously and kind of take a step into their world and learn more about them in that context. And I learned, as I said before, I learned a lot about the beliefs that undergird it. To your point, Don, being a conservative, I'm not going to be the person who demonizes conservatism. That is your political perspective. But I think within this context,
I'm not demonizing conservatism. I said I don't have a problem with it. I meant
right. No.
Yeah.
No. I agree with you. I wasn't saying you and the you, but more in the like, if that is a person's political perspective, then great. But in this context, there are some legitimate questions, and we explore those questions in this piece.
Yeah, because Black people can, I think socially, Black people are conservative, especially if you look at, the Black church has a huge influence on the Black community, not as much as it did. And people have conservative ideas about homosexuality, about the roles of women and men and husbands and wives in the household, and on and on and on. What kinds of jobs, women are school teachers and men are, the caretakers and the breadwinners of the family, all kinds of things.
Religious faith.
And religious faith. And I know that Black people are I'm generalizing, and I know that I'm generalizing, but I'm also Black, and I know what I'm talking about because I've experienced it. And I do think, as someone who was co-opted when I was younger into, believing things that were against my own interests, and eventually I woke up to them, I understand what's going on. George, think about this. When I was in traditional media, if I had come out as a conservative and said, or as a Trumper or whatever, I could have sold a gazillion books. I could have had my pick of any network. I could have gone on Fox. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not a liberal. People think that I am. I am an independent. I have some liberal leanings and I have some conservative leanings. But if I had gone in that direction and people told me I should have, when people thought that I was a conservative on CNN before Donald Trump came around, they were out the wazoo from conservative networks calling me, asking me to be on the show. And I was like, I'm not going to do that because I don't believe in what you're saying. I just believe in common sense. I'm not going to sell my soul. I mean, George, you know how this business works. Can you imagine if you had someone who is at my profile and then all of a sudden I came out as a conservative and started espousing views that I didn't necessarily believe because I knew that was an opportunity to monetize and to become more popular? Can you imagine?
I don't think I would be sitting here right now. I'm serious. I don't think I would be on your show. Yeah. And it's not like only because I know you as someone who has integrity, and it would feel very disingenuous. And I'd be like, oh God, here's another one cashing out. You know?
Yeah.
Like JD Vance to me, for example, is an opportunist and a husk. You know, just fill the husk with whatever is going to get him closer to power, what's going to fast track this. He's a shapeshifter, as Garrison, I think, said. And apparently at one time, JD Vance was like a liberal. And this about face is like jarring. So yeah, so for you to do that would be jarring to me.
I could have made so much dough, and still could if even if I did it now, it could happen. So listen, but Garrison, tell us about Black Maga? I mean, you spoke about them a little bit. Like, what you said you think that some of part of their motivation is grifting. Some people, I'm sure, believe that they believe that. And I watch people on television, whether they are in, traditional media anchors or correspondents or analysts, or if they're just a Black MAGA on the street. And I'll look at them and I know, and I'm like, brother, you don't believe that. Sister, I know that you don't believe that. It's fine. Keep your job. You want to be rich, but I know you don't believe that shit. But sorry, go on, Garrison.
Yeah,
tell us about it.
I think some of it is that there's a value for rugged individualism, right? I had a conversation with Larry Elder, who said that the Republican Party is the party of small government and individual responsibility. And I think that value of individual responsibility is kind of American. And it's certainly something that we see in the Black community a lot. To your point earlier about the Black community being somewhat conservative in its own right, that idea that you work twice as hard to get half as much. Well, the operative element there is that you're working twice as hard, that you're doing everything you can to get ahead. That is the individual responsibility part. But when we look at history, I encountered one Republican who I interview in this video. His name is Topher. He's a Christian rapper. And he talks about how Black people are worse off after LBJ and the policies and legislations that Lyndon Johnson put forward. And I challenge him that, are you saying that we are worse off after the Voting Rights Act, after Fair Housing Act? And in many ways, he said yes. He essentially said, we are now more reliant on the government than before. But by every metric, things have gotten better when you actually check the facts. And so I think a lot of that is there. There's this idea that all Black conservatives, or many of them, are grifters, but I think that there are very sincerely held beliefs, some of them legitimate, and some of them are based in ignorance. And we try to kind of like explore that and do some fact checking around that, which I hope can be illuminating for those who just may not know, who may be coming to certain conclusions based on poor or bad information.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I just, again, I have nothing against conservatism. It's the MAGA thing that I don't understand how anyone of any actually ethnicity could be supportive of insurrection, could be supportive of, stealing elections, of election denial, of the sexism and the racism and the bigotry that goes on when you look at the, what people say at these, MAGA Trump rallies, and the merch that they're selling, and how ignorant they are on racial issues. And to have a Black man stand on a stage in front of the world, if they wanted to tune in, and say, America is not a racist country. I don't believe everyone in America is racist, but there's a lot of racism in America, and a lot of it is coming from MAGA. And for him to stand in front of that crowd and to say that, to me, is just really embarrassing. I actually feel sorry for him. George, this kind of
does he still have a fiance?
They're married.
Yeah,
they're married.
So I'll say this: we don't necessarily get into Tim Scott's relationship in the video, but
they got married a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a weekend or two ago. But I will say, I do encourage people, if you're here, go check out the video. We have a really robust conversation that I hope is respectful over on youtube.com/Mother Jones.
I see George, Tim Scott's career rising the east like the sun.
Rising, I can see. Why do they always look like a nappy rabbit?
Because that's what they are, dear. Now
Because
go
that's
make
what
them
they
happy.
are. Addison DeWitt and what was her name? It
Maga,
was Marilyn Monroe.
Miss Caswell. Miss Caswell.
Yeah, Miss Caswell. Miss Caswell.
From the Copacabana School of Dramatic Arts.
Copacabana School of Dramatic Arts. Garrison is like, what the hell are they talking about?
Deep cuts here that I got to get my knowledge up on this stuff.
Where it's a whole thing and it happened.
Garrison, All About Eve will be your favorite movie because it is not just it's not just gay lore. It's cultural lore because Eve exists in every career path.
Yeah, it all came out right after the moment. You've heard of Fasten Your Seatbelts is going to be a bumpy night. That scene that he and I are reenacting came right after that on the staircase in Margot Channing's apartment. Okay, so listen, George, this reminds me of when we were talking about Black MAGA, the conversation we had last time. We were on about log cabin Republicans. Are you also getting flashbacks of that? Because I think that a very similar thing can be done, is what Garrison did with sort of log cabin Republicans to a certain extent, because, you know, same-sex marriage against that, it's sinful, yada, 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 and on and on and on.
You spoke to Candace Owens, didn't you?
I did.
How you? Did you take a nice nap after that? I listen. I've done a lot of things that go against my own notions of self-respect. And let's just say that through the help of others and with my own self, and you know, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like, I don't understand, let's say, Peter Thiel. I don't get it. Like, what do you really hate yourself that much? Because, you know, they may have money, but these guys I don't think are necessarily philosopher kings or queens. It's a lot of self-hatred to me, in the interest of being adjacent to power, really. And sure, it's fun being in the company of people who can pull power levers and, you know, be on their boats and invited to their parties and what have you. But I don't know. I am very lucky to have had the parents I had who raised me and loved me and gave me the values that I was given, because I don't have any interest in what they're selling. None. I don't know. Like you're asking, you've asked a few times, like with the Black MAGA, you don't have a problem with conservatism, but it's the MAGA thing. I have a problem with MAGA across the board. And I look at the whole scene and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Really? Really? This is your thing? This is your platform. This is what you're selling. This is who you are. This is what you want us to believe that you believe. You're crazy. I have no interest in any of it.
Look, for me, it is, as you talked about how dark it is, it's the hatred and the cynicism for me. Look, and I understand that, you know, anybody of any party can do that, but just the fact that it is the sort of collective hatred and collective cynicism and collective just meanness and bigotry. We were out this weekend and we saw a Trump boat parade, and some of the signs and the flags that we saw, I can't even repeat what was on them. Now, I didn't see, you know, for the crowds and crowds of people that I saw for Barack Obama back in 2008 and 9. For the crowds and crowds of people who are supporting now Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, I have yet to see you know, anyone carrying a sign like, you know, a dear leader kind of sign, or something negative, even though people hate MAGA, right? They may hate Donald Trump. I don't see that sort of thing happening on the Democratic side. And so for me, that's why I cannot understand how any person of color, any minority, whether it be a member of the LGBTQ or a member of the brown, black, or whatever community, how they would want to be involved with a group that demonizes who they consider the other. I just don't understand it. That's all I'm saying.
I spent time in my younger years, in my more formative years, wasted time trying to appeal to people who were either indifferent to my existence or would prefer I didn't exist. And I think maybe there might be a little bit of that going on with these peeps. Like, again, it goes back to that adjacency to power, and there is a safety to it. Like I'm in the VIP room. Like they want to be in the VIP room, and this sort of feels more like the VIP room, maybe to them. I'm thinking, like, I wanted the bully to like me. Now I don't give a fuck. But like once upon a time, when I was still developing my character and my prefrontal cortex, I wanted people who hated me to like me. That was for some reason important to me. Now, as I've grown into a full adult, middle-aged, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. I don't think some of these people know who they are or who they're not. And I am not willing to compromise certain things about myself to sit next to us or to get a certain seat on a certain plane. Like, I don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But these people do.
SC7N Dust is in the comments and says, we are not a monolith and sheep. This has nothing to do with being a monolith or sheep. This has to do with being a brain and not like voting against your own interests, or, you know, and it also has to do with either internalized homophobia. Even if you are a member of the LGBTQ community, you can have internalized homophobia, and you can also be co-opted by bigotry and racism if you are a member of a minority group. And also, listen, I do have to say that there's something very interesting in it, I think. There's an attraction for Black men for Donald Trump because he sort of doesn't care, and people sort of, you know, aspire to be that. I think Black men aspire to that in a certain way, certain Black men, that they can sort of go through this world and have a devil may care attitude. So they find that attractive. There's a certain sort of eroticism in it. I believe it for every demographic, including, you know, the MAGA women and MAGA men or whatever, that, you know, I want to sort of emulate him and be like him because he doesn't give a you know what, and he continues to rise. But you, gay man, Black man, whatever, you don't have that sort of privilege. So, but anyway, that's it. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say, and I'm done. That's all I need. That's all
but don't you think? Forgive me if I brought this up before. But in this paddle game, don't you think that there is an envy on that side? You know, when Kamala came forth and Tim Walz joined, you know, the blue team, and what we saw in these rallies and in this union of these two people and the audience reaction, that like on the blue team, there's fun, there's mirth, there's whimsy, there's rhythm, there's storytelling, there's joy, and they literally don't know how to speak that language on the red team, and they're stumped.
Well,
and the campaign managers are like, I don't know how to do joy. Like, somebody's saying it's not a right joy. How do I do it? Like, they're lost.
Yeah, they don't.
When was the last time you saw Trump laugh?
I want to bring George into it. I mean, Garrison in this, because Garrison, it's because you're out there. It's interesting because there's the positivity. Like, the one side is making fun of someone who's laughing, right? And there's joy. My executive producer said something to me this Sunday. We were just talking, and he said, you know, and I will say this, there was doubt about Kamala Harris from a lot of people. I hear a lot of people saying, the majority of people I talk to, quite honestly, say, I wasn't sure about Kamala Harris in the beginning. She wasn't my first choice, but now I'm all in. I'm all for her. And people did not believe in her because, as you said, George, it's kind of the job of the vice president to shrink yourself, right? You're sort of back there and you're like, okay, if something happens to the big person, then I'll step in, or if they need me. And so you're supposed to take a back seat. That's what a vice president does. And then all of a sudden it was like, this is what Jonathan said to me. He said it was like a drain that was clogged. And then all of a sudden the water comes rushing through because the drain has been opened. And I think I thought it was brilliant. That is exactly what happened with Democrats. And now they have all of this emotion. They have all of this energy that is behind them because they were being blocked. And
she was allowed to spread to her whole wingspan.
Yeah.
Whereas she was not before.
Garrison, are we off on that?
I think the polling data is reflective of that, right? YouGov came out with a poll saying that likely Black voters went from saying they were about 58% will definitely vote to 74%, and that bump is kind of huge when you really think about it. There is excitement. Like I'm not sure, but I'm almost sure my grandmother will have a little plate with Kamala Harris's face on in her living room at some point. That excitement is there. And in some ways it changed my reporting around Black Republicans, right? Like there was kind of these two old white guys. And now there's this new interesting dynamic that's at play here that I think I will continue to report on. And I think it'll be really interesting to see the way it changes some people who were maybe gung-ho for Trump, or at least just going to just vote for Trump just because. And now they have this other option.
You guys are the best. I really loved having you. And we want to remind people before they leave, before we get out of here, to hit the thumbs up, right? We know we're an independent media. Thumbs up, like and subscribe. George, we have to do a collab as we have been promising. We got to do something.
Keep talking about it. I know,
and that never happens. Garrison Hayes is a video correspondent for Mother Jones, specializes in race, history, and politics. And George Hahn is a writer, a humorist, a style consultant, and a dear friend. And I'm so grateful that both of you came on. I hope that you will come back. I really enjoyed this show. Garrison, you're doing fantastic work. Continue. So good. We can find you at your work at Mother Jones. And where else can we find you? Social, where else?
So on Twitter, I'm on Twitter or X at Garrison_Hayes. I'm on YouTube at Garrison Hayes. If you find me any of those places, the link in my bio will send you everywhere else. And so, Don, it's been great to be here. Thank you.
It's been great. There was someone in the chat who said Garrison is easy on the eyes. And we all agree. Don't feel weird, Garrison. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you both I appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. Be well. And I'm just going to talk to the subscribers a little bit. So everyone, thank you for joining us. We were so happy to have George and Garrison on today. I was out and about all day. I was doing promotions for my book. I don't know if you saw them. I don't know if it's been put up online, but the book is available for pre-order. I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America. I'm actually in the city today. I was doing some pickups, as they call it, for the audiobook. So I had to go to the publishing house and sit in front of a microphone and read some of the mistakes that I made, or that the producer who originally did it did not pick up on. And that's what I was doing. And then I spent the day hanging out around the city, doing some stuff with the social media people so that we can get ready to go to Chicago. So are you guys ready to take this trip with us? Are you ready to take this trip with us? So we're going to start our trip. We're starting this week. And we're going to start in New York. We're going to go to New Jersey. We're going to go to Pennsylvania. We're going to go to Ohio. We're going to go to Michigan. We're going to go, of course, to Illinois, and places in between. And so maybe you'll figure out where we are. So we're trying to figure out exactly what our theme is. I'm calling it the Don Lemon Show Election Express, but I don't know if we want to do that. Or we could call it the Where in the World is Don Lemon? Those have been used by other people, but hey, guess what? That happens. Or what should be our theme? What should we call it? The bus tour, the bus poop, the bus. Someone's got a bus emoji in there. What should we call it? Let us know. So I'm so excited. I'm really excited about going to the convention. I know that you are too. Let me know if you guys plan on going, watching, if you're going to be watching us, where you want us to go, what you want us to do, what questions you want us to ask, who you want us to try to get at the convention, and on and on. Come to New Orleans. New Orleans is not exactly on the way. Ada Mujkanovic. New Orleans is not exactly on the way from New York to Chicago. But maybe we can do a trip around the country. If this goes well, maybe we'll take the show on the road until Election Day. Who knows? Austin, Texas is kind of out of the way too, Monique Johnson, but we would love to come there as well. Cleveland, now you're talking. Cleveland is close. We could head to Cleveland. So yeah, around the Lemonation. That's what we're going to do. Thank you, guys. They should use a Prince video in Chicago. Maybe they should, says Bigly Piggly 45. Come to Denver, says Be Kind to Each Other. I'll try to come to Denver. We'll see. Denver's not exactly on the way, but maybe we'll take a trip around the country. Let's see what happens. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Pre-order the book, please. It's in the top of the chat. I would love for you to pre-order it. It's so good. I was riding around today. Actually went to read the book. I was reading the book with construction workers. I had 2 people in Times Square fighting over it. Mario from the Mario Kart or whatever, and Spider-Man were in Times Square fighting over my book. Can you believe it? So anyway, I said, come on, boys. You're both pretty. You can both have a copy. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Have a fantastic evening. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 for sure. And make sure, I forgot to tell you, make sure you tune into the Sophia Nelson interview. JD Vance's transgender friend, former friend who is transgender, and she talks about their relationship and the falling apart of their relationship in which she believes was betrayal by JD Vance. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow at 5. Thanks for joining. Bye.